Wow, we have a nice crowd here. I think I'm seeing most affiliates represented here. I see some new faces, so I'm gonna ask folks to kind of just say where they're from as well. And I'll explain who I am.
And if you could turn on your screens, that would be great if you're able to.
Yeah, let me know that you're here. I'm not gonna put up a presentation for you to hide behind today. So,
Hey.
we're gonna pretend like we're sitting in a round circle. I have my legs crossed, you can cross yours. And we can really get into some really rich dialogue.
Sure. We'll wait about one more minute and then we'll get started. See if anyone else is able to join us today.
Also, I'm like crazy. You guys know I'm crazy about video and cameras and stuff. So some of you, your chins are cut off. So if you could just slightly tilt your screen down for me, that way I can see your nice, full, beautiful face. Maybe the top of your shirt, so I can see your outfit. That
Must be me.
certainly, it's a few of you. I'm not going to say any names, but it's
Looking
your
at you, she
whole
just doesn't say
person.
anything.
And there we, yes, see? Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yay.
So excited.
Good. And Ray, it's nice to see you. I never see your face.
I know. I think it's my first thing, right face.
I'm like, who is that?
I finally got my camera to work for me. So, hi.
Nice.
Timing.
Nice. I'm hoping Tamara can get hers fixed soon.
Yeah, we're in the process. I think she actually got it finalized maybe last week. So,
Good.
Oh, we
Okay.
got Chris here. This is so okay. Calm down. Again.
Yeah, because you didn't say that when I came on. You wasn't like, oh,
no.
Y'all. Look at these folks.
I don't even know if I got a high, but it's okay. It's all right. I'll talk to you.
Is Miss Key? Is that Miss Key here? Is she with us, Shanithia?
You're on mute, Shanithia.
Okay.
Yeah, she's up here.
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. And Chris, I'm so happy to see you. Okay, so if you can just turn your camera on just so that I know you're here with me, that would be great. And then Kate, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Sure. Well, I won't take up too much time so we can dive right into it. But welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today on our Leadership Roundtable discussion. We are really excited to have Letitia from OICA and Jeff from Tri-County to lead us in this discussion. So I'm just gonna let them take it over.
Sure. Thank you, Kate.
Sure.
So team, I'm really excited to be with you today. For those of you who do not know me, I am Letitia Crippen. I'm the Senior Program Manager here at OIC of America. I joined OIC in 2017. I came from corporate America, retail specifically, human resources and operations. And so I always say working for OIC and being with you all is like a dream come true for me because I've always been interested in the work that you all have dedicated your lives to every day, helping people who need the help the most. And being here with you in this capacity, talking about leadership, is just so exciting for me. So, and then I'm also joined with Mr. Jeff Woodyard from Tri-County OIC, who, don't tell anybody I said this, but he's one of my favorites. And just the way he displays what a true leader is and how he has brought Tri-County OIC from the late 60s to where they are today is certainly inspirational. So I'll let Jeff talk a little bit about his leadership background, where he comes from.
Thanks, Letitia. Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, Certainly glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm going to start off by saying, I don't think that I'm the perfect leader, but thanks for the invite anyway. as Letitia said, I'm the director of Tri-County OIC. We're here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And me personally, I started with OIC in 1978. So it's been over 40 years since I've been here. And obviously I fallen in love with the cause. And I came to OIC sort of fresh out of Lincoln University. Went to school in Lincoln University out there down outside of, we said it was outside of Philadelphia, but it really wasn't close to Philadelphia at all. But that was the only city that we knew that was close to Lincoln University. So we kind of say it's close to Philadelphia. But I found my way here to OIC because in college, I majored in English and minored in education, and always thought that I wanted to be a teacher. And I saw a posting at the unemployment office one year, and they were looking for a teacher. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll just go there and apply. It just happened to be OIC. It happened to be Tri-County OIC. And I have some good memories about that interview. There were about 15 of us who interviewed for the same job, and they interviewed us in alphabetical order. And the interview started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And my last name is W. So I had to sit there through the A's and the B's and the C's and the D's. And I'm looking at my watch and I'm getting hungry and my stomach is growling. And the more I waited, the less I wanted that job, you know. And by the time they got to me, it might have been 8 o'clock at night by the time they got to me. So I go in there with an attitude. I'm going in there, let's make this quick so I can get home and get something to eat. So I sat in there and answered all the questions for a good 45, 50 minutes. And I said, I did my due diligence, I'm done. And so that was it. And a week later, a letter came in the mail and said, congratulations, I want you to start on Monday. So I started OIC. I was the GED teacher. I replaced Reverend Henderson, who had passed away. And so I became the GED teacher. So that was 1978. And I stayed in that position until 1980 when our director left. And actually what happened was, Tri-County OIC got into some trouble, and you hear about that, unfortunately, a lot of times. So we got into some trouble as an agency, and we were about to close down. We were really about to close down. A lot of us went from full-time to part-time, and only 4 of us hung in there and said, hey, we're gonna try and make this work. They took a full-time program, and we only worked at night. We worked at night 4 and 5 days a week for about a year. And little by little, things came around, and the board decided that they had to have a director. We didn't have a director. It was just us teachers who were just hanging in there. And there were 2 of us, me and Priscilla Ferguson. And this is the truth. We flipped a coin. We flipped a coin, and I guess I won. I don't know. I guess I won. And so 40 years later, here I am still sitting here at OIC, and this is the love of my life. And if you can find a passion, and if you can find a job, and if you can find a love of something that you like to do, 40 years is nothing. When I tell people 40 years, their mouth drops to the floor and they're just all aghast. But 40 years has gone by so fast because every day somebody comes in here that we help, somebody comes in here who needs us, and the mission and the goal of OIC just never gets old. It never gets old, and we're needed as much now as we were 40 years ago. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to share whatever advice I might have and answer any questions that you might have, and hopefully it'll be something that's worthwhile. So thanks, Letitia.
Thank you so much for that history and just really showing what it takes to be a strong leader. And, sometimes you got to hang in there. You got to believe in something more than other people believe in it and really stick it out. And you can see the fruits of that 40 years later. So that is awesome. So today I just want to help set the tone of how I would like to see this work. This is a discussion. This is not a training per se. This is not a webinar. This is a discussion. We wanted to make sure that we carved out space for our leaders, our emerging leaders. Some of you I know are senior case managers, lead case managers, as well as program managers on the call. And I really wanted to make sure that we one, got to know each other a little bit. If you look around the room, these are your peers, and there are some new faces. And so it's really important that we get to learn each other as peers. And then also that we're having a real honest conversation about some of the challenges that we face as leaders and some of the successes that we've had. What are some of the things that really worked? Some plans and strategies that you try and they really panned out to be fruitful. I think that is going to be the most beneficial part of this conversation, especially to those who are new to the project. So I do want to just set aside some time for us to say who we are and our role and which OIC we're coming from. So I'll call on you to help move this along smoothly. So I'll start with Kevin.
Hi everyone, my name is Kevin. I'm the lead case manager at Philadelphia OIC. Currently, I'm doing that on our older adult 3A program, but soon I'll be transitioning into doing that for our upcoming young adult program.
Thank you, Kevin. Aisha?
I'm Yai. I'm the program manager for, we have SOAR 3Y and we have the 3A contract as well here in Portland.
Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
Brent?
Yeah, hello. I'm Brent, and I am the employment specialist, Pennsylvania, Montgomery County.
Awesome. Thanks. Happy to have you here, Brent.
Thank
Shanithia?
you.
Hello, I am Shanithia Hansen, and I am the program manager at OIC of Rocky Mount for 3Y, 4A, and the upcoming YARP.
Awesome. Happy to have you, Shanithia. And Gina?
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina. I am the program manager in Philadelphia on 3A, 5A, and 5Y.
Awesome. Welcome to the team, Gina. Ray?
Hello, everyone. Ray Lightburn. I'm based out of South Florida, out in the Miami satellite office, and I'm currently the program manager for the adult component.
Happy to have you, Ray. Ray's been with South Florida for a couple other grants, so happy to have him on the team. Soraya?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Soraya Dennis, our program manager for SOAR 5 YARP in South Florida.
Awesome. Thank you. Nate?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nate Gadsden. I feel like a sergeant in the Pentagon. I'm the case manager at one of the case managers at Tri-County OIC and working on SOAR 3A, and we are anxiously ready to get into 5A and 5Y.
Awesome. Chris Mitchell?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the other case manager here at Tri-County OIC.
Ms. Key? I think you're still on mute, Ms. Key, if you are speaking.
I'm Rosalind Key. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Rosalind Key. I'm the case manager for Young Adult SOAR program, Rocky Mount OIC.
Thanks for joining us, Ms. Key.
Thank you.
Kristen, my old hometown, OKCCC.
Yes, my name is Christopher Myers, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at OIC of Oklahoma County.
Awesome.
It's all over the country.
Super excited to have you here, Chris.
Thank you.
Christina.
I'm glad to be here.
Christina, you look frozen, but I'm not sure if you are. Oh, Christina? Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Christina Johnson. I'm also at Tri-County. I'm the program manager for Tri-County for SOAR 2Y, sorry. And I started out as a case manager. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to become a program manager.
Awesome. Aria, you have the coolest name in this room, by the way. I'm sure you know that. If you're Game of Thrones watcher, I don't know.
Never do this, but I have to step in. This is Danelle.
No problem.
Araya's it's pronounced Araya.
Araya.
Yes, instead of Aria.
Thank
she would
you.
never correct anyone, though.
I understand.
I am the case manager for the SOAR program at Montgomery County.
Happy to have you. Welcome to the team. Danelle?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Danelle Brown. I am the program manager at Montgomery County OIC for SOAR 4A and 5A.
Welcome to the team, Danelle. And lastly, I have Ephraim.
My name is Ephraim. I work for the illustrious Soraya, who just spoke a few minutes ago, as a case manager in South Florida. Looking forward for this project to kicking off.
Awesome. Happy to have you on the team. Well, great. So it looks like we have a nice mix of crowd here. And so I think we really get some great perspectives. So just some housekeeping. We have a chat. As if you've been on any of our past webinars, our chat is popping. Okay, so please use the chat. Kate and Kaya are always going to be able to call out anything in the chat. If you don't have a chance to say it, they can read it out for us. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and they'll make sure that I or Jeff hear that information. But I am totally open to you just taking your phone off mute or your computer off mute and certainly adding to the conversation. We did have one person join, Giovanna, in Chester County OIC. Giovanna, we just recently went through introduction. So if you want to just turn your camera on if you can and let us know that you're here and say your name, your title, and what OIC you represent.
Hey y'all.
Hey, beautiful.
I'm Anna Wiley from Chester County OIC, and I'm the program manager there.
Awesome. Welcome. And Giovanna's been with OIC for quite some time and certainly moved up the ranks to program manager. So we're happy to have her today.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do is really have a brainstorm around what is an effective leader. I think a lot of people have different definitions of an effective leader. And so I would like for us to really just kind of describe what that means to you. If I were to say, give me your definition, what would that be? What have you seen?
Basically, someone to motivate you and draw out your full potential and with the willingness to carry on the mission in his or her stead.
That sounds textbook.
What?
Right?
I'm sorry?
I said, that sounds textbook. I think you hit all the right angles there. Good. Who else?
I think being able to adapt is key. We could forecast things, but unfortunately we can't control scenarios, i.e. the pandemic. So you have to be able to acclimate and assimilate to different situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm getting
Communication
chills off of that.
is also one of the most important things, knowing how to communicate with your people to pull out the best from each and every individual. Sorry for interrupting you, Letitia. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Interrupt me, please.
You know,
Communication.
Chris mentioned communication. I'm gonna throw some other C's out there. Collaboration, the ability to work with your staff, people you're working with, the form a collaborative effort in moving towards a common goal. I'm gonna throw out the C of capacity, the ability to work to help build capacity in the people you're working with to help them get to the goals that we're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add that an effective leader is someone that models the behavior that they want to see their staff replicate. You also want to ensure and show your staff that you're willing to do the work with them and not just delegate. As a manager, sometimes I know that our staff can be bombarded or feel overwhelmed with the task at hand. So being able to say, what's on your plate and how can I help you be a better case manager, be a better employment specialist. So willing to, being able to get down to the nitty gritty and being able to assist them along the way while also gauging them to grow professionally.
Good.
I think the ability to navigate the people around you towards the vision is critical when you talk about effective leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just add to the discussion, Letitia, if I may. I also think.
Oh my goodness, I didn't introduce Shanique Banks or Kaya or Kate. I just assume you guys know all these folks.
Yeah, we were all together yesterday.
I'm so horrible. This is
No.
Shanique team, Kaya CC, program manager for OIC of America. You guys are like, excuse me, I'm rude.
No, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
An effective leader understands that leadership is about a relationship between those they lead and those that they have the pleasure of leading. So the same, like they understand that they're inspired, the inspiration goes both ways. I think when we think about people leading, you can't lead someone you can't be a leader of no one. So that relationship is important, and that lines of communication should be open. I've heard people say communication, collaboration. It's all about setting those parameters around the relationship between a leader and those who they have the pleasure to lead.
So if I can jump in and add something very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that came to mind when we started talking about this for me was a leader having compassion and understanding for what our participants go through. I think in our setting, that's incredibly important. And secondly, I view a leader or a good leader as being someone who can adapt their management style to the working preferences of their employees, as opposed to just mandating that they do certain tasks within a certain way. In other words, being mindful of people's working styles and what allows them to accomplish their goals.
Excellent. And Giovanna, do you want to mention what you put in the chat, or I can read it for you?
Yeah, I said someone that's able to see the vision with a 10,000-foot view and be inspired and keep others inspired even during discouraging moments. I think that's really important because obviously everything's not always going to be like perfect or dandy and roses, and we have to still stick to the goal and be inspired and be well as we meet those goals.
I think a good leader sets the tone for the work atmosphere.
Absolutely. These are some really great things, and they make me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. But I have a lot of leaders on this call right now, and all of us can agree that being a leader is not all about warm and fuzzies. So, what makes for an effective leader aside all of the ways to be supportive and compassionate and understanding and relatable? What's the other side of being an effective leader?
I think, a good leader needs to be able to make hard decisions. And sometimes those hard decisions aren't so popular and they don't feel so good making them either. So, on the other side of things, yeah, we need to be able to make those decisions to be able to be effective when others want to maybe stick to the status quo.
Good. What else?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's as she says that, every time I have to make a hard or a tough decision, I start off by saying that's why they pay me the big bucks. There are no big bucks, but that's how I preface it. I put on my boss hat, and when I do that, they know something serious is going on. But like Donnell says, it has to happen, and good leaders have to make those tough decisions for sure.
I would add to this just setting standards for your staff, the goals, the structure of your program, and then holding people accountable to those standards. That's not always something that's popular in terms of management, but it's a necessary, I don't want to say evil, but I guess I'll.
Being able to set boundaries, like clear boundaries, and being able to ensure that maybe people understand why the boundaries are set.
Guarding and protecting the culture of where you work is very important part of leadership to me. I think it's very we can't really undervalue that, and we have to realize that the culture is more important than any single individual. So sometimes you're not going to be popular for the decisions that you have to make, but if it protects the culture around what you're doing, it's a must.
Chris must be a poet, because I took a quote from him on the last one. He always says good lines. The culture, right? It's not about one individual, right? Good stuff. I'm sorry, I cut someone off.
I was going to add that it requires for you to be consistent, because I think that helps to build trust with your team, right? If they see that you're wishy-washy in your management approach, they won't be able to come to you for certain things. And so I think a lot of times managers are trying to kind of balance the line of like, how can I be personable, but how can I remain professional? And I think, as everyone stated before, setting those standards early on is important, but you also want to be really consistent with moving forward.
How has that, I have a follow-up question. How has that shown up in this leadership role during these very difficult times for all of us? How have you set those parameters? Because people are dealing with really difficult times, and leadership is about owning the good and the bad, right? So how have you managed that? How has that showed up? Not just for you, Soraya, anyone.
Well, for me, one of the things that I got from a really great manager that I had was doing check-ins with my staff, right? So we're talking about the climate. We're all dealing with a pandemic. We have, if you're a mother, you have childcare issues. If you're a father, you have childcare issues. So we have all of these personal things, and then we have to carry on and go and be at work and be the professionals that our job requires us to be. So for me, during our staff meetings, the first thing I do is I do like an icebreaker, and I check in with my team, and how have you been? What are some of the lows and the highs that you're dealing with, either professionally or personally, so that I can kind of gauge where that staff is for that week, because I don't want to throw things like Mr. Woodyard said earlier, that sometimes you have to put on the boss hat and have those hard conversations. But if I know early on in the week what you've dealt with over the weekend, or perhaps what you're dealing with during the week, it's easier for me to get, okay, maybe not this week for this person, maybe I'll have this item go towards another staff member, because I know this person is dealing with something, that's going to cause them not to be able to do this job effectively. So I love doing check-ins, highs and lows, and in order for me to be consistent, I have to just remind myself that even sometimes when we don't have enough time during those conversations, just giving them a call or sending them an email, like, how's your week going? Is there anything that I can help you with? Because this is a new role for me, and I definitely want to establish those relationships on the onset.
Yeah.
And let me say something. Let me just quickly add that what Soraya just mentioned, she is really good at what she does. Trust me.
I believe it. I believe it. I definitely got that energy from engaging with Soraya. And, that's about displaying. You can talk about some of these things, but really actually doing them and displaying them is another thing. And so, I wanted to pose this question around what is our definition? What have we seen? Because I think it's important for us to pause and really reflect on what we are truly charged to do as a leader of these programs. And even for those of you who are on the call who are not necessarily a manager or a lead case or lead employment specialist, you are a leader for your participants. You see, so anything that we talk about today may be in the context of program manager to case manager, but then you could apply the same concepts, all of these things that people threw out, for our participants. What behaviors are you displaying? If you're telling somebody to start looking for a new job and how they're supposed to behave on a job, but they see you at work with your headphones on and messy desk, then that is displaying something for them to, digest and probably replicate. You know, if you are coming to work and you're sharp, you're presentable, you're respectful, you call people by first, last name, miss, then they in turn could behave that way. And so I just wanted to double down on that point before we move into some more of this stuff. But what I also heard from what you all shared is that as a leader, we have to, we're playing a balancing act. We're doing a dance. We're doing this super dance that we have to be so skilled at and so graceful with, and being caring and compassionate and being firm and consistent in delivery of performance, right? Making tough decisions and making life great for your staff. And ultimately, what all that rolls up into is what you all talked about as a shared vision. But inspiration and results are the two things I want you to really break your role down into. Inspiration and results. How do I inspire my team to do this work that is super hard? And then how do I also manage the fact that we are showing some results, right? And so before today's call, we sent out a few topics that we wanted to dig into. We asked you all to have some thoughts on or questions around some of these topics. And so I want to move into some of those things and first open it up to see if anyone had a question or comment they wanted to make on this. And then we can move on to some of my thoughts on these issues. But before we do that, I want to pause. Kate, is there anything in the chat that needs to be shared out or that I'm missing?
No, I think it's mostly me in the chat, Letitia.
Okay. You talking to everybody?
As usual.
No problem. That's
Just
great.
type it away. So
No problem.
feel free to join me if you want, everybody. I'm here.
May I just weigh in though?
Sure.
I saw Kate put something in there about self-care, and I just wanted to, as much as it is important, and Soraya, kudos for those check-ins. I want to incorporate that into my management style more. But I have found out, through this COVID, just because you're a leader in something or you are in a certain role doesn't mean that you're exempt from all that, the chaos that comes along with it. And, I experienced a huge couple of weeks of just real depression. And there are times when I feel like I have lead boots on, and it takes every ounce just to be able to show up. And so I think that's an important aspect. Maybe, there are days when we're not going to be 100%, but if we show up and we're 70%, man, that just shows a lot of, grit to get, just to be able to get by. And it shows it's leading by example. It shows staff, participants, everyone that that you can have those lead boots on and still show up and just be able to perform to the best of our ability.
Absolutely. And that's one of the tough parts of leadership. People would think, oh, so you can be a manager, it's, so cool, you get more money. Okay, well, you have to come to work and tell everybody, yeah, guys, we can do it, when in the back of your head, you're just not there. And you may not think you can do it, but you can't tell your team that. You have to come to work, and at least that if it's 70%, come for the 70%, or say, wait a second, I need to take care of myself because I can't take care of my team if I'm not taking care of myself, and recognize that. And so, I think you really hit on it, Mr. Nell. I think that is so honest and open. And I think a lot of us on the call certainly resonate with that. And that's why we've been working in some self-care activities into the conference and saying, hey, we can talk about all this business every day, but we need to sit down and make some pie and take a drink for a second. We need to do some yoga. You know, we need to play a game and take that mental break for ourselves as leaders. So the first thing that I want to dig into is going more towards your staff, the staff development. Okay. We have to balance staff development with performance management. Okay. When we talk about staff development, you have people on your team that met the minimum qualifications to join and work on your project, but there are some things that they still need to work on. Everybody's got to work on something, right? And at the same time, we have lives in our hands. We have people who come to us for help every day, and we have to make sure we make a difference, i.e., you know, or another word for that is meet the outcomes with each individual. So I'm gonna pause here, balancing staff development and results. Any initial questions that anyone had on this or thoughts that you want to share on this? Shanique?
Thank you for calling on me. One of the things I like to do when you think about bringing on a team member and running programs and knowing as the leader, you have to meet those outcomes, right? Share. Do not be afraid to let go of some of the power. Delegate. And when I say delegate, let's all look at the goals and see how we're going to get there, right? So when I talk about inspiring this shared vision, it's, listen, this is the goal we have to meet, right? And when people understand their role and how it is directly attached to the goals, they understand their purpose for the project, for the program, where they sit in the realm of the institution. And so days like the days, Ms. Brown, when those lead boots are heavy and you need to take care of yourself, you know, your other team member knows the goals. You know, they know how to get there, right? So I always say, think of that end in mind so that you can back in training, right? I know I need to get to these numbers. So days that I don't feel, the days that those boots are heavy, my team knows we're all working towards a common goal. And if everyone's working towards that goal and we're empowering people to bring their best self, it's okay for you to take a day and do yoga and to make apple pie, to take care of yourself. Because if you're not good, if you're no good, you won't be good for your team. Your team not going to be good for participants, and you will not make those numbers. So I think it's all interconnected, and that's all I'll say on that.
I want to second what Ms. Banks just spoke on because it was going through my mind as she was speaking. A good leader builds other leaders. And that is essentially what's going to elevate the organization as a whole. Your investment is the staff around you. And when you begin to invest in them, there's not a scenario in which they elevate and the organization doesn't. If they elevate, the organization as a whole will elevate and it will follow exactly where they go.
You know, Chris, I'm going to have to echo Letitia. Something is happening. Like, are you running for office, sir? Yeah, that was so eloquently said. I mean, just spot on. But again, I don't think we can overstate the importance of really helping staff stand up, right? Empowering those leaders. So when we talk about inspiring that shared vision, it's something we've all come to the table and talked about. We know exactly where to go and how to get there. Now, as a leader, you are preparing that person to get to those places. And it's hard during this time. I do want to ask Jeff to weigh in here as our expert resident, to talk about, because I'm sure, Jeff, you have seen
that wouldn't be me.
Challenging times.
Thanks,
You're so modest, Jeff.
No,
He is.
Everything that people, it's almost like these people are the teachers. You know, because everything that you're saying, and you start off by saying textbook, it really is. You know, those are all the qualities that make good leaders, are the things that we're talking about. And as you talk about taking time for yourself and really trying to build up and strengthen your staff, because I see my role as giving my staff the tools that they need to be good. you know that's all I try to do. I just ask them, what do you need to make your job easier? And that could be that could be training, that could be resources, that could be a pat on the back, could be anything. uh, that's what I try to do. I'm it's taken a long time. I've been here 40 years and I'm still trying to find somebody to take my place. So if anybody if anybody out there looking for for another job, let me know, because that's my job, is to find somebody else to keep the vision going, keep the mission going. And one at a time, you building up your staff, building up your team to make that happen. And you were talking about numbers and meeting goals. That's probably one of the things that I don't focus on, because I know if I provide quality service and do a good job and help the participants, all those things just fall in place. So chasing numbers and chasing dollars and those kinds of things, I'm chasing people. I'm chasing people and I'm trying to make them better. And as I do that, and as I stick to the mission, all those other things will fall in place. If I give staff the resources that they need to do their jobs well, they'll become better leaders themselves. And someone mentioned that, and that's how it happens.
Yeah, I just love that. I would love to hear from someone to share about a time where you invested in a person and you saw the results of that manifest in the numbers, if you will, or the culture, performance, a turnaround.
I can go there if you'd like. One of our most successful participants for the 3A grant in Philadelphia came to us through courts. He basically started from the very beginning of our program. So he came in and needed to get a high school diploma. He worked at that pretty diligently, fell off a few times. I had to do some court advocacy to kind of get him back on track, bring him back into the program. He completed his diploma. He moved on to doing construction training with Orleans Tech. He got his certifications there, completed that training. He took on initiative to get a forklift on top of that. He just graduated at the end of October and was placed into a job the first week of November.
Awesome.
So that's just an example of sort of sticking by a participant and giving them the room to grow.
Absolutely. People, not in that translates into numbers. Anyone else?
Donnell, do you want to read what you put in the chat, or I can add it in?
I saw that.
Can you add it? I just wanted to just concur with. Can you just read it, or?
Sure.
Oh, I can read it out.
Okay.
Chasing people and helping them become their best selves will result in the outcomes without focusing on the outcomes. Sometimes focusing on the numbers loses sight of what we're trying to positively affect people's lives. That's what we got from what Jeff said. I would agree. I would agree, but I'm also, y'all heard my background, right? We have a job to do. We're held accountable. Department of Labor gave us money to do something in the community. Actually, it wasn't even the Department of Labor. Every citizen in your community paid taxes so that the government could give us this program so that we can do what we said we was going to do and actually make a difference in the lives of the people in our community. And so when we think about staff development and really pouring into our staff, as a leader, we have to keep our eye on, is it working? What are we doing? We're reporting to these people, we're doing different things as a leader, but is that really getting us to our obligation, our promise to our community, right? We said we was going to give X amount of people jobs. We said we were going to give people good paying jobs. Are we doing that? you know? And so I'm really strong on the balancing act with these two things, but investing in people and talent is really important. So you're gonna see from the national office how this shows up for us is making sure that we are giving you all consistent training, right? And I have to give kudos to Kate and Kaya for really doubling down on frontline training. That's why do we do frontline training? Why are we doing this training? Every month there's a training. You got to sit on it for an hour and a half, because if we keep pouring into our teams that are out at the OICs and giving you exposure to different people, giving you more skills and tools to put in your toolkit to be more effective leaders or case managers or employment specialists or data specialists, that is our way of making sure that that's an investment we put into it, and then eventually you will see the results on the program. We talk about how to be more effective in follow-up. So a lot of these trainings that we're doing is not just because we say you need to get on a training. It's about reinvesting into the people that we care about. Any other trainings that any of you have explored as leaders for your staff that you've really invested in to make sure that your teams are able to what Jeff said, be able to do what they need to do, be able to do their jobs effectively?
I just want to give a shout out to Yai. It wasn't a training, but it was more like a self-care activity when you cook dinner for the team. And that was just an example of how, like you can reach people in different ways. It doesn't always have to be, like a strict training or something, but getting people to talk and, having them comfortable. I thought that was a really great idea. And the morale was, from what I understand, very, very high because of that. So just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. So this kind of leads into the other topic that we had around dealing with interpersonal challenges, if you will, or issues. We're having a lot of conversation around taking care of ourselves, taking care of our team, showing ways that we can appreciate our team. Managing interpersonal dynamics is a real large part about leadership. I think someone mentioned it before, where we talked about relationships, really tailoring how we communicate, and Chris brought it up, tailoring how we communicate to who we're communicating with, right? Not everyone's going to receive that message the same way. How do you change that up? I want to open the conversation up into this space and hear from any of you who maybe you've had difficulty in this space and you just had a question of what do you do when you run into this situation, or maybe someone has a testimonial that can talk about how being intentional about how you interact with your staff, how that really has paid back dividends. I'm okay with pausing. I could call on someone, but
So for that in general, just working with different team members I've had and working with other teams that I wasn't on, I generally try to approach everyone with a level of respect and just being personable to them and building relationships that's outside of just this is your duty and this is my duty. I feel if you can have a level of friendship and camaraderie within your team, it's a lot easier to carry out those conversations, whether it's a tough one and things aren't working, or whether it's congratulations, you did a great job. I think so. Meeting people and treating people with respect as far as where they're at and being open to helping them, open to taking feedback really builds those foundations.
Very good. I thought I saw Yaisha unmute her line. She was going to say something.
I did. I would say one of my struggles has definitely been with the COVID shutdown. A lot of the communication is now virtual. So trying to find a way to communicate like the importance of something but also being aware and sensitive to ensure that a tone isn't in that you may not be intentionally putting in there, but maybe in the space of, oh, let me hurry up and shoot this information out, it could come across some way. So trying to, when you have maybe some individuals on your team who may be it may be a little bit easier to take things in a negative way, trying to figure out a way to ensure that that they aren't able to see, to see something and then that becomes the focus of, oh, this was given in this manner, so they can't receive it. So that's something that I definitely feel like I need help in, especially since, like I said, everything is now moved to such a virtual platform, just in trying to be able to communicate importance of something and I need this task done, but in a manner that can be received by everybody.
Right. I mean, that's a good point. We call it, you need to unplug for the tough stuff. So if you got something real to say, sometimes email is not the way to do it because they can't get the tone, as you say. And really, when I have something that I need to tell staff that's tough, that's hard, that's important, I've got to do that as best I can face to face. And it is hard in this time, but you need to pick up the phone. You need to do the Zoom call so you can see the person, because that is important. They need to see, as best they can, your face and not just read your words. So you need to unplug for the tough stuff.
Jeff, I love that. I'm going to put in my little toolkit to use going forward. Yeah, I would encourage you to, when you're talking to people, when you're learning staff, one of the things I say, the best way to manage me, right? If it's something important, that you pick up the phone or come talk to me face to face, because that is my preferred communication styles. As a leader, I try to understand those that I lead, their preferred communication style. If I know this person is very sensitive about words coming across a text, coming across in a message, and that feels too formal for them, or they may interpret the tone incorrectly, I do not send that email to that person. I give it a call. And those are the things that we have to understand. What is the best way to communicate to certain individuals? Because everyone, I think that we should assume that everyone is not on the same, does not communicate the same. So as a leader, you have to understand what style works for what team member, and just really adapt it, especially if you feel that that person is valuable to the team. Some team members, no matter how you communicate with them, it's just not going to work, right? And then you have to look at yourself and say, okay, what do I need to do? Because no matter, I can send this person a letter, a text, an email, I pick up the phone and communication breaks down, right? And really think about how you have been communicating with them. But I do think it's worth trying to understand a person's communication style, as it is for you to communicate what style works for you as a leader. Like, I see all of these things that we're talking about as a list of skills that are available to everyone, right? So you're telling your team member, here are the lists of skills that as a leader we have: communication, visioning, collaboration. They're not, you don't own them. They're for everyone. So you can lead at any point in the organization, and we should share that with our team. Listen, the best way to manage me as a leader, right? Because we do want to teach people to manage up, because sometimes that's important. Like, sometimes you need someone to say, hey, this is my 17th project and the week is not over. I literally can't do that, right? We have to be open enough. So I think understanding what a person's communication style is very important. Like, you'll always miscommunicate with each other if you don't understand each other's style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'll say on that.
I always like to say, find what makes someone what gets them going. I been in a situation where I had team members, and one, they were very formal. They were a very formal individual. Things need to be expressed like we were in a serious meeting with very clear language and little to no emotion. And that was what they interpreted as respect and the best way to get the information. Another person, when I came to them in the same formal manner, they just didn't hear anything. They always thought that they were in trouble and they were like, oh my God. And so I realized with that one person, hey, how are you? Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to need you to do this and take care of that. Is that going to work for you? Yes or no? Okay, great. The other person, hey, look, when we going to get this done? Because it's been like 2 weeks now. And I know. You know what? I got you. I'm going to do it. Okay, great. There's nothing wrong with switching up how you interact with individuals in order to get them going. You know what makes them tick. If I come to that individual on a professional tip, they're just always going to feel bogged down and always going to feel like they're in trouble, instead of saying, hey, I just need you to get this piece of the work done. How are we going to get there? What do you need from me? And then they're honest. And next thing you know, you realize it's not a real big issue. And you just remove this one barrier and boom, the work's done. You know? And so that's leadership style. That's my leadership style in being able to relate to an individual, meet someone where they are. Same thing goes for participants. You know, we can't, well, from a case management perspective, we can't come to all of our participants the same way. One person, they always, you know, that one participant always responds to your text messages. Will never pick up the phone for you, but they'll respond to the text message. Okay. Other person, they're in your office 2-3 times a week. Okay. They prefer to face-to-face, and understanding how to get your participants going is a leadership style, similarly to your staff. Donnell said, guess we should ask someone's communication. I would ask, what's the best way for you to receive communication? And I would even take it a step further, is I know my team heard me ask this, what do you need from me as a leader? What's the best way? Like, what is your preferred leadership style? I might not be able to change all the way I lead, but understanding what works for you is going to help me understand how to be the best leader for you.
That's really timely, Letitia, because I think one of the things that we have to own as leaders, we have to ante up first. We have to model the way. We have to demonstrate and show our team what is someone talked about culture earlier. What is the acceptable behavior for this institution and what that looks like, right? Or at least the parameters of it. So as leaders, I think we own that. We ante up first. If that's modeling, if that's initiating conversations, if that is asking, now, like it's just, I think this is spectrum of things that we can start to demonstrate first, and conversely be open to hearing feedback, right? Like this exchange and this leadership fellowship experience is about growing, and it's not a one-way street. And that's all I'll say about that.
I agree with everything that's been said so far, but just going back to sort of the basis of the original comment and talking about how you can communicate virtually through email without offending someone or making them feel like you don't appreciate their effort. I would say that you can set a tone in writing in an email, instead of just getting directly to the subject that you're worried about. Take the time to say, good morning, Kevin. I was thinking about these tasks last night. I was wondering if you had any updates for them or how we can structure this. I've gotten emails sometimes various places over the years, some that have tones that are like, what did you do this week, with no good morning, no subject, no nothing. That can make you feel as if whatever you're doing is not appreciated. So just taking the time to have some pleasantries in your writing can solve some of those email issues.
You know, and that's the same theory behind saying hello to somebody in the office. You're trying to distinguish them from the desk, that they are a person, and that you take the time to be pleasant. And that's an important part of the communication.
Chris Myers, I think you took your phone off mute to share something.
I did, but the conversation had gone in a different direction, so I put it back on mute. But the one thing that I was going to say, to a point that Ms. Banks made earlier, you really have to be a leader of yourself first. And I mean, I feel like, especially in underserved communities, the issues that we're having is because the leaders that are out there, they're not even leaders of themselves. So they're easily compromised. When you become a solid leader of yourself, then you can begin to push these things on other people. Another thing that I wanted to ask is, I wanted to ask Jeffrey, Mr. Woodyard, am I saying that right?
You said it right first time, Jeff.
Sir, okay, Jeff. I apologize. When I look at you, I get chills because it's almost like I'm looking at a future version of myself. I came to OIC 7 years ago, just wanting to volunteer, and they started me out as a substitute teacher, and it was supposed to be a 2-week assignment, and it's been 7 years, and I'm here. I will say that in the classroom is where my leadership lessons began. And even though we have this like invisible wall between staff and clients, universally, we're all dealing with the same challenges. And you learn to become a teacher, you learn to become a leader as a teacher because you're learning to deal with different personality styles and getting people from one place to another. So I just wanted to ask you, how did that play a role in your development as a leader?
Well, as a teacher, as I started out as a GED teacher, you do learn how to become a leader. I mean, that you're leading the class and you're learning those skills. And really what made me become a leader is I had more responsibility. And as I got more responsibility, I had to take it seriously and I had to find out ways to get things done. And you do those same kinds of things in the classroom. You find a way to get your students through and get them to their goals. And it just snowballs into becoming a better person, a better leader. So no matter what someone mentioned earlier that, all of you are not program managers, but everybody's a part of a team. It only takes 2 people to make a team. And so each of us, whether we're supervising other people or supervising co-workers or students, we're all team members, and we all have to build the kinds of skills that make good leaders. And I think just through experience and through keeping the vision and knowing what the ultimate goal is, it just makes you become the leader that you need to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef. Okay. I wanted to pivot a little bit to one of our other topics. I'm just taking a look at the time. Maintaining a high level perspective is one of our topics here. Working on the program versus working in the program. I think there is a lot to be said about. I mentioned before how we're playing this balancing act with managing our staff. We're also playing this balancing act as managers of this program. You have the actual program outcomes that you are working on and making sure that your team their schedule is right, making sure that the budgets are right, all these, details. But then on the program, making sure that you're in the community, that you're at community meetings, that you are elevating your program online, is working on the program, making sure that whatever program you're operating right now is operating right. And if not, what adjustments do you need to make to how you function? And so I just wanted to give some space to this topic and hear some of your thoughts on what your understanding is of working on the program, what that looks like, and working in the program, because I think it's a real thing that we should what is the word I'm looking for? Acknowledge.
When I read that part of this description, it's why I made sure that I was in this session, because this is identically what I'm going through right now. And one thing that I'm finding is it's very important to formulate processes that can function independently of you. I feel like in leadership, having a good mentor goes a long way. And I have a great mentor right now. One thing that she continues to reiterate is that if if somebody else can't step into our position and carry on, if something were to happen to us tomorrow, we're doing the agency a disservice. So, you know, that is my struggle right now that I'm really, really trying to get better at, because I started out hands-on in the field, and then now having to take a step backwards and realizing that I can't be so close, analogy-wise, to an elephant, you know, because if you're too close to the elephant, the tail feels like a snake. The ears feel like a bat, you know. Sometimes you got to back away and understand what it is that you're looking at. So, you know, formulating these processes that can function independently, that's definitely a major challenge.
Thanks for sharing that. Anyone have any suggestions or tips for Chris in that area around formulating processes, taking a step back from, you know, hands-on?
I just wanted to piggyback on what Chris said. I think that's been one of my challenges as well. So maybe possibly hearing from the more senior managers as to how they balance that. I've only been at OIC for a month and a half, and come January, like we hit the ground running. So it feels like I've just been getting a lot of information and kind of trying to categorize all that information and then trying to prioritize that information while we're also hitting the ground running, because we're in the process of reaching out to potential participants. So everyone knows the deals with that, but it just seems like I'm full and I need to digest, right? Like I need to make use of all this wonderful information, all this knowledge, and then go out and implement it. And it's really hard balancing that right now. So maybe hearing from some of you guys will help me, you know, manage this better.
Let me ask a question.
Before you answer, can I just chime in a little bit? And then, so I just want to say that I'm having the same quandary. So maybe a whole bunch of us need some mentoring right now, on the spot mentoring. But, you know, I put it like putting down the tracks when the train's coming. It doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. And so how do you make sure, you know, I had all these lofty goals. I'm going to put together employee handbooks and policies and procedures and systems. And still to this day, you know, it hasn't come to fruition. So help.
Yeah. Let me ask, do any of you feel as if personally you feel that some of your team members can't do the job as well as you could do the job? Do those of you who take on a lot of responsibilities and have trouble delegating feel that way sometimes?
Or that they're not giving it the level of attention that you would. And that's the key. That's the key, because on one hand, you're sometimes saying, let people be themselves. And on the other hand, you're saying, let them be like.
Jeff, you're on mute. You just muted yourself.
I was saying, on one hand, you're saying, let people be themselves and find their way. And on the other hand, you're saying, let them be like me. And sometimes the struggle is the feeling that only you can do it, or it needs to be done your way. And that makes it hard to delegate. You know, there's a saying, and the saying is good enough for government work, which means it may not be 100%, maybe 99%, but the work gets done. And sometimes 80% is good enough if you're not harming people, if you're getting the job done. And I think I'm pretty good with not expecting people to write the way I write or to do things the way I do things, but I do expect them to get it done and get it done enough for government work, as they say. And so, you know, you got to sort of think about that because, again, by delegating, that's how you develop leaders. That's how you release that responsibility and create that situation that you just talked about, that, hey, I tell people, if a truck hits me tomorrow, this thing better keep going, because it shouldn't be dependent on me. So, you know, my saying is, if the building catches on fire, you better call the fire department. Don't call me. You need to know what to do.
Right.
Right? I'm not putting out a fire. Right. So yeah, you have to.
Thanks, Jeff. I think that's all those points are extremely important. And I would just add to that, you know, having control is very hard to, you know, let go of, right? And most of us are in our positions because we like to have some control over things in some ways, more than others. So I think that, you know, Chris, you had made the point about kind of coming from the frontline work to your role now, and it's a process. But one thing that I have found in my previous roles and even my current roles is just to put your expectations out there, you know, from the door. So for your staff, you know, make sure that everybody is on the same page, you know, whatever communication that entails. Have a roundtable discussion, you know, to talk about things. I've, you know, coached teams where I say, okay, well, you know, like Jeff pointed out, if something happens to me, you know, I hope that everybody is aware of everything that's going on, right? And I think that also gives a sense, you know, to you that I can trust other people to do these things. You know, it gives other people that trust that you trust them a little bit, you know, and then the way that they operate, the way they do things might be a little stronger as well. And then we all should have a mentor, like you said, Chris, you know, someone that, you know, we can talk to or, you know, seek advice from or whatever the case is. And we talk a lot about, you know, this in our work because a lot of us have had that frontline experience, right? And it's even for me, I've been at OICA for over a year and I'm working on my thinking process when I go into things sometimes, and I miss the front line a little bit, but I have to remind myself like, okay, you know what? I'm in a different position now. I need to take a different approach and I'm working on it, you know, but the one thing, you know, I can say is like, I'm overly optimistic about it, right? And I try to keep a good attitude. So, you know, that if I don't know something, I'm gonna be okay because I'm gonna find the answer to it or I'm gonna, you know, work through it. So I think the way we approach it and how we deal with our own, you know, ability to, you know, delegate and work with our control, you know, goes a long way. And we can continue this discussion if it would be helpful, you know, for some of our frontline discussions to talk about this a little bit more, because I think that we often, you know, in our work, because we're so busy doing things, right, and trying to get these trainings in, that we miss some of those very important foundations of this work.
I'd love to hear Shanithia's thoughts on this topic because I feel like she, you know, I don't know, Shanithia, you run a lot of programs, a lot of people, and I'd love to hear your insight on what Soraya brought up and Chris and the likes about what is this working in the program versus on the program look like for you? How do you manage that? You're on mute, Shanithia.
You know, I already asked her in the chat. So
oh, you did?
So I was on my way. I was just, you know, listening to everybody else. I think one of the things, because, you know, I was a case manager, I was an employment specialist, and then, you know, I became a program manager. And then being into working with the reentry population for over 10 years, I think most of the things, my concern is like listening to my staff. And what I do is I faithfully, you know, individually meet with my staff on a daily basis. I also have a staff meeting too, but it's important to see what their concerns are and to see what it is that we can help them with. Because sometimes, you know, this job can be overwhelming for each and every position, you know, that they're in. So I've been there, so I know. And so I see that listening to them and seeing their concerns and having an individual talk with them on a daily basis, it helps. And so if you take care of them, they're going to take care of you. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't have all the answers because I have my struggles too, but I know that that's one piece that helps me. And I just make sure that that's one of my things that I do each and every day, whether I'm doing it on Zoom or in the office or talking to them on the phone. That's what I do. So, I mean,
Awesome.
hope that helps with one of the things, you know.
No, that definitely makes sense. Shanithia, it goes back to what we started this conversation with, right? Like taking care of your people takes care of
Right.
everything else. You know, for me, I realized I've won awards in the past, right, for like developing great teams and people. And you know, it sounds fancy, but really for me, it's all about that cross training I saw someone brought up in here. If there is a task that you've been doing, I'm pretty sure that, and it's easy for you, right? Like, oh, I gotta still do this. Train someone else to do it. At first, I used to look at it as, oh, you know, they might just see it as me giving them up my work and giving someone else my work. But that individual actually wants to do more. They want to get engaged with more than just what they've been doing day to day. They may be bored. They may want to learn a new process. And now they see you delegating a task to them as a form of recognition and saying, I trust you with this. I know you can take this aspect of the program. So you know what? Here you go. And then lo and behold, it's what they've been looking for. It's what they love, or it stretched them to now they are ready for that succession planning. I think is the underlying in this conversation that we've been talking about. Who's going to be ready to take your spot should you find another opportunity or you move up in the organization? And so you have to make sure that the delegation is there in a smart way where it's also a development opportunity for your staff. And when you find yourself doing that with more things, not everything, but more things, then you see opportunity space opening up for you to work on the program. You can go take that extra meeting because you know you don't have to get all the incentive requests in because you train Johnny to do the incentive requests and you trust Johnny. And Johnny likes having that added responsibility because he likes giving into the program more.
And I think I'm just add to that real quick, Letitia. I think, you know, the points about talking to your staff and finding out what their interests are, you know, assist with that, right? Like if you don't know anything about your team, if you don't know, you know, what they want, might want some more development in, professional development in, experience in, then you're just going to hand them stuff and they're not going to be happy that you're doing that because you don't even, I mean, there's always going to be things that we have to do that we're not going to like, right? But I think like Shanithia said, you know, just having that one-on-one conversation with them. I've talked to some of the other program managers. Christina can tell you, I probably say this to her like every day, right? Christina, like, you know, you got to talk to your team, and she does. See what they want to do, you know, see what their interests are. And then you don't have to feel so overwhelmed with it. You can just say, hey, you know, great, you can take this over, and they feel good. And it's something that they enjoy doing and can add to their development.
When we talk about the metrics of good leadership, I think ultimately how you should be evaluated as a leader is how well did you empower those around you? And you can't be afraid to empower the people around you, more so than even these numbers that we try to reach. You know, how well have you been empowering your staff to handle different situations? Because ultimately that's going to determine the longevity of the organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking at the clock here. We're about 10 minutes out. There was one more topic on the table that we didn't discuss, and is around seeking resources and support. And so I'm going to ask one last question around this and then give you all opportunity to give your final thoughts on today's discussion. I'm not sure if we have a poll for today, but if we do, we can do that. If not, that's okay as well. But OIC of America is intended to be a resource and support system for you. That's our role. We fund, but we resource and support. So how can we provide more resources to you and be a better support for you as a leader of a project or two or three for some of you in some cases?
That's so funny, Letitia. I was typing that in the chat as you were saying it, not knowing that's what you were gonna say. So
Hi.
I will delete that. Always looking for topics of discussion, like Letitia said. So do you have ideas now of what we can support you with as far as tools or discussions in the near
And
future?
that might be uncomfortable for you to answer, right? Like, oh, I don't want to tell you what you're not doing good. Look, feedback is a gift.
Right.
And we just had a long conversation around if you don't ask people what they need and what's best for them, then you're not being an effective leader. And so I get it. Some people may not want to talk about that in this atmosphere. Sure, you can send me a message, a Kai or a Kate. That's okay. But you know, I wanna open that up to the team and hear if there's a more resources, better resources, or better ways to support you. What could we do for you as the leaders of these projects?
Collectively, I would like to see OIC just strengthen its network, just strengthen our bonds, and maybe produce some type of platform that we can go to regularly and communicate with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, I feel like we're all the same individual, just trapped in different vessels.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Noted. Mm-hmm.
I would add maybe in line with that, since you guys are managing all of these programs across the country, if you have resources about different, especially during COVID, different training opportunities that we may be able to use that are DOL approved, online-based things. And then as a more broad, I guess, topic or point, working on sort of being able to connect us to methods that may have worked in other affiliates, since we don't have the ability to always contact each other. Even if it's not direct supervision calls and it's just like, we're going to add this resource or some quick tips to your Google Drive, or post a video explaining some techniques people use to address X, Y, and Z problems.
I love that. That is, yes.
Hey, Kevin.
I think, you know, when the funds permit, OICA commit to investing in our building infrastructure and digital infrastructure so that, you know, even during times like COVID, we can stay open if, you know, if it's not mandated by the state that we close. You know, some of our buildings are older. You know, it's almost like, and I'm just going to be very transparent. It's always like, it's almost like the people that we serve that are most traumatized, that live in the most environmentally unfriendly of places, and communities that have been disinvested, that we're trying to serve. We've also, as an entity, been disinvested in. So maybe, you know, whenever, you know, I know that capital is hard to come by, that for infrastructure, but yeah, we need to bring ourselves up to the 21st century and have trauma-informed spaces where, you know, people who we serve can come in and feel like a breath of fresh air, like they're really here, you know, being served, that it's warm and colorful, and, you know, it doesn't feel like maybe another prison, if you will, another space that is depressive or oppressive. Yeah, so we just need to reinvest in ourselves and our spaces.
I love it. Anyone else? I saw what Shanithia said, have more roundtables like this. I'd love to.
I have one more quick little thought and then I'll be
Sure,
quiet.
Kevin. No, you don't have to.
No, Kevin.
I feel like I'm talking a lot for some reason today. Anyway, some of her comments just made me think about sort of, not that we don't appreciate the funds you get for SOAR directly, but potentially working on some grants that you may be able to provide to affiliates to fill some gaps in services, as far as simple things, even like being able to have snacks in our offices or something for people. We do have some stringent requirements about what we can and can't spend money on. So small things like that would help, especially because a lot of our organizations are very small. So we don't necessarily always have the resources to go look for extra little grants that might provide those smaller things.
That's great, Kevin. And, I think creating kind of like a ecosystem list would be helpful in that, places that can assist and just having them handy so you can go to that list and say, hey, somebody want to donate some pizzas or hoagies or something. There are organizations and businesses that do those things, and it helps them elevate themselves as well if they contribute. So definitely. And you could also use Kaya's chat and chew idea as well if you have to do it virtually. Throw something on the calendar, invite the participants to it just to chat, and see what happens.
Good. This is good stuff. Anything else? I saw Soraya said peer mentoring for program managers across the affiliates. She know I've already kind of started a little bit of that. But we can do that. I think we should do more of that. Anything else? This is good stuff. Well, I want to just reiterate that we are a resource for you and we're support for you. We manage the numbers, we manage the processes, all those things, but you all are the experts, as Jeff said earlier. You all are teaching us about what you experience and what your challenges are, and we're here to be that extra. You see us as, okay, you might be challenged on resources and capacities inside your four walls, but know that you got another 3, 4, 5 people over here that can help you identify the solution to a problem, identify another partner. I can tell you right now, Kate and Kaya are some of the best researchers I've ever seen when it comes to, can they find it? They will find someone that can do it. They can find someone that will help you do it. They are fabulous at that. I'm a creative. I will come up with a creative way to tackle something or create a new event or a new way to engage someone. And so we're here for you in that respect. And we will work on creating a community where you all are there for each other more as well. So awesome. Any last thoughts, final thoughts? I'll go around the room. This is like the last check-in. If you say I'm good, I'm good. Yeah.
I'm good. This was super helpful, so I appreciate it. I did a lot of note taking, so definitely going to reflect on it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
I was just going to type in the chat to thank you for setting this up. It was honestly a nice little break to just be able to talk about some things like this. So thank you.
Fabulous. Soraya?
I think I echo the same sentiments as everyone. It was just nice to have a break and have a discussion rather than being in training. While we love those trainings and we need them, it's kind of nice to debrief. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Brent?
No, I'm good, but thank you.
Great. Shanithia?
I'm good. I just want to thank you all for setting this up. I think that this is a great idea to do this more. Because it helped me, and it was great hearing everybody else's ideas and concerns. So this was great.
Thank you. Chris?
Which one?
Oh, Myers. Sorry.
I just want to say I have so much, a boatload of respect and admiration for each one of you. I know what goes into your daily routine, and it is definitely the work of God that you're doing. Keep doing it, and let's strengthen this network so we can help each other out some.
Wonderful. Mr. Lightburn?
It was great. It was a great sounding board. We know internally that all of us are ultimately going through the same thing, but it's good to hear it. It's a way to decompress. So I'm looking forward to this in the future, and count on me to be a part of this.
Awesome. Mr. Gatson?
Thanks so much for this. I even, I even get a chance to listen to our boss from a different perspective. Believe it or not, it just, you just get another dimension, and that's helpful. So, but thanks to everyone. Thank you for having me in the room. I am definitely good. Thank you.
Chris Mitchell.
I just want to piggyback on what Nate said, and I'm definitely good, but it's also good to hear Papa Smurf Jeff give us a little talk about what we do here, and that's appreciative always. Thank you.
So lucky to have him. Aria? Did I say it right? Araya. I'm gonna get it.
Araya. Yeah. I would just echo what everybody else has said so far. It was really great and really interesting. So yeah, thank you.
No problem. Miss Key.
Awesome. I'm good.
Wonderful. Ephraim.
I'm good. So thank you. Gracias. Merci. Toda rabah. Kamsahamnida. God bless. This was a really great thing.
Fabulous.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Christina.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. And I am grateful to have to work under Mr. Jeff. So I've got all I need.
Awesome. Miss Brown.
Yeah, this was a really good use of time. Thank you so much for having it. I miss everybody at Tri-County OIC. It's good to see it, everyone, and good to hear Jeff on a whole different platform. And I'm just so grateful to be here. And I am going to be the voice of it, the advocate. Sometimes you guys are going to be like, oh, Danelle, be quiet. But really, I do love this work, and I know that we make a difference every day. So God bless you all.
Happy to have you on the team. Kaya.
Yes, thank you all so much for participating. We did a little bit of something like this called Chat and Choose over the summer, and you guys are just validating that we need to bring them back. And I'm thinking if quarterly works good for people, maybe we'll do like a quarterly, position-specific community of practice. So all program managers from across the programs can come together once quarterly and do this type of debriefing. So be on the lookout. You guys definitely just validated that that's something we will be doing from here on out. So thank you all for everything. And I did put some tools in the chat. Like I said, when we put up all the recordings from the conference, we'll be following up with all the tools and suggested readings that all of our presenters have recommended. So those will all be usable to you soon. And I also put the registration link for next week's sessions, which we're really excited about. So if that makes it easier for you to just click on that right there and register for next week's, go for it.
Awesome. I'm gonna go to Kate, and then Jeff, you can kind of close us out with your last thought. Thank you, Kaya.
Sure. So thank you everyone for being here. I think it was great to have this discussion. I'm glad that we had it. And I look forward to seeing everyone on our Chat and Choose and some of the other things we do. I know that you typically get emails from me about the frontline trainings, but I like to have fun too. So when we have our self-care activities and the Chat and Choose and other things, please, if you can, just join in, take a break. It helps with your self-care. We had a scavenger hunt that some of Tri-County and South Florida participated in, and that was a good time. We had a lot of good laughs, and it broke up the day, and then I felt re-energized to go into everything else. So I just want to thank you as well for all the hard work that you do, and we all are going through the same thing. So please reach out if you need us for anything.
Jeff?
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I really enjoyed myself. I learned something from each and every one of you, and it just affirms, the reason why we're here. This is hard work, but we're helping people, and we're training people for life, and life is tough. So just hang in there.
Yeah. Thank you. I just love you all so much. I just really do. And we're family. This is the OIC family. And we're going to laugh together. We're going to cry together. But man, when we get together, it's a good time. And I'm so Thankful for everyone's engagement. I'm thankful for everyone sharing and being transparent and learning from each other. And this is, again, as Kaya mentioned, further validation that we should have more gatherings of this nature to help keep us energized and motivated as we get through some of the tough times and celebrate when we have some great times. So be on the lookout for things that are more along these lines. And again, our doors are always open for additional suggestions on how to serve you best. And so I look forward to getting that feedback from you all. So this, I think, closes us out. We're 6 minutes over. There's a feedback that popped up on your screen. If you could just give us some anonymous feedback, if you will. And then other than that, I'm going to say you all have a wonderful weekend. And Kate and Kaya, I just want to stay on the line because I just want to look in the chat to see what things I need to jot down before I leave. You could just not.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Have a fantastic weekend.